Welcome to episode 5 of the Sound Vault. Been a quick minute without you guys, but boy, did I miss you. Let me cut to it. Today we're going to be going over the Canelo versus Crawford fight this September 13th in the MGM Grand Arena. I've thought about this video for a while now, done a lot of research, and if you're looking for a quick, punchy video where you're looking for somebody who's just gonna reaffirm who you're going for. If you're going for Canelo, you want me to hype up Canelo, and as soon as I say something good about Crawford, you click off of the video. That's not gonna be this. This video, we're gonna get really granular. We're gonna get into the depths of why I'm picking who I'm picking, right? So we're gonna go through a couple of different videos that I found on the interwebs, and then we'll make an educated opinion, an educated guess on who we believe is going to win the fight. Episode 5, The Sound Vault. Thank you for tuning in. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. Let's get it. All right, so I wanted to start here. We got a trailer for the Canelo versus Crawford fight. This will wet our whistle. This will set the appetite. This will set the mood for the fight. So let's get into it.
Every once in a while, the impossible becomes improbable. The birth of a new legend.
Hail King Canelo!
They don't come around every day.
Omaha, Nebraska, stand up!
Hey, quick shout out. Omaha, Nebraska, stand up. Hey!
They take time, find their place. One step, then another.
Dudes come a long way, man. Look at young Canelo. Dudes came a long way. I mean, I don't see how you can hate on either of these guys, man, and their greatness. Magnificent fighters, man.
The punch leads to purpose.
Fighting out of Omaha, Terence Crawford.
And when purpose consumes everything else, that hunger becomes fate. Now what was once improbable becomes inevitable. Two legends from different corners of the world both share the same story. But only one will walk away remembered.
Undisputed super middleweight champion of the world.
That every once in a while now becomes once in a lifetime.
Sheesh. Massive fight, man. Massive fight. And you just don't know. It's a 50-50 fight. Coming into this, obviously, I think most people who are not just casual fans of boxing, but actually partake in the sport, leaned Canelo. I think that's the natural thing to do. He's the bigger guy. He's been in the weight class, the 168 division, for God knows how long. Your natural instinct is to lean Canelo. I don't care who you are. Unless even the biggest Bud fans in the world, right? You would think in the back of their head, something's telling them, damn, man, Canelo. So I got a couple videos that I seen in doing my research and just trying to decide who has, any leverage at all, who has the upper hand. How do I see the fight playing out? And a couple of these videos help to form my opinion, right? I didn't base my opinion solely on these two videos we're going to go through. Obviously, it's my natural instinct from watching boxing for over a decade now and just being a fan of the sport. I base a lot of it on that. But, when I hear educated and intelligent guesses of how the fight's going to go, you can't help but say, damn, that was I could see it going like that. I could see that happening. I respect that opinion. So let's go to this first channel. A shout out to, let's see what his name is, Victor Jimenez. This was actually my first video, of his that I've ever watched. Because with the algorithm, I'm searching, Canelo versus Crawford predictions, right? So obviously this is one of the videos that came up, and I don't just stick to the big channels. That's one thing about me. Like I don't mind going to a smaller channel. This guy only has 1,000 subs, right? And he had a great opinion, and I like unbiased opinions. That's another thing. I like where I can't even tell who the guy is going for or who he's going to predict until the end of the video, just because you can't tell where he's leaning. He's just hitting you with facts, right? Cold, hard facts. So let's get into the video.
I want to talk about Canelo. Canelo obviously is one of the all-time greats, first ever undisputed middleweight champion, I think ever, right? A four-belt era for sure. So I do want to talk about Canelo because I feel like his last couple fights are very telling to the audience. And I want to start with him. Canelo, when he beat Caleb Plant, looked spectacular. I think Canelo there was one of the best. That run from 2020 to 2022-ish, he looked great. When he destroyed BJS, when he destroyed Plant, when he got all the belts. Let's put it that way. He looked great. But in recent times, this is where the downfall really comes in.
I mean, versus Billy Joe Sanders and Caleb Plant, he was beating up on all those European dudes. I mean, yeah, that's peak Canelo at the height of his powers, and he could cut the ring off. He was a heat-seeking missile that was going to hunt you down either way. Pure destruction coming your way, and there's nothing you can do to avoid it.
We're talking from the William Skull fight. We're talking the Berlanga fight. We're talking the Jaime Munguia. There's a lot of flaws.
John Ryder as well.
That I think that Crawford can really capitalize on. For starters, Canelo, and pay close attention to this, and I don't mean this the slightest because he would beat my ass, has become kind of he used to be at 160 pounds, kind of a counterpuncher, and would rely on people coming to him. One of the big changes, and he even did that for a little bit at 168, but one of the big changes in Canelo's game here is that he has no longer become a fast counterpuncher. He still counterpunches, don't get me wrong, but his new style, and this is something that I have not liked about Canelo in his recent fights, in his last 4 fights, to be honest, even since the Ryder fight, he's become a high guard, flat-footed pressure fighter.
If you can't agree that Canelo is a flat-footed fighter, at least at this point in his career, you're a fanboy. You can click off the video right now. Let's set some precursors for us, the audience and me right now, because you're not going to like the rest of the video. If you can't admit Canelo is flat-footed at this point in his career, you are a fanboy. Click off of the video, because I'm only going to deal in facts on this video, and that's going to go for Bud and Canelo. Criticisms are going to go both ways, but we got to be factual here. It's the only way this is going to work. Canelo in that high guard, the same high guard that Bivol was punching through with the jab and the straight left, punching through it. That same high guard, Canelo can't, shells up.
Now, I don't mean to disrespect him. I like Canelo clearly. But one of the things he's been doing in recent memories, he puts a high guard. Canelo means both his gloves up top, and he walks towards his opponent, and he does one of two things. He shoots a jab, and that jab will do one of two things to Canelo. And his footwork isn't on par with Crawford. That's where I think Crawford's going to have a lot of advantages here. He's going to throw a jab, and it gets him off balance. One of the things you'll notice is that if Canelo throws a jab, he doesn't typically come with another punch going after it because he's not in a good position to throw another punch. He throws the jab, and he throws all his body and all his weight to it, and you'll see Canelo move forward. You're like, he has force in it. It's a power jab. But
very easy to get Canelo off balance at this point in his career. Not to mention that when he's trying to cut the ring off, he walks to you. He does not maintain a boxing stance. He will walk to you, and when he's walking to you, his feet are crossing. Again, off balance. while his feet are crossing, he's liable to get hit. He's in danger. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about boxing IQ. Canelo, don't get me wrong, he is one of the most experienced fighters, super wise. Dude has hundreds of amateur fights. But experience is not the only measurement of boxing IQ. That's not the only thing that goes into boxing IQ. People think a lot of time experience means everything. Does it mean 70%? Yes. Yes, it's the bulk of what boxing IQ accumulates to. But it's not everything.
That power jab doesn't let him have any other punches afterwards. It leaves him off balance and leaves him clear for counter punches. Fighters in the past have taken advantage of this. Dimitri Bivol has done it. Floyd Mayweather has done it. Shit, even Triple G has done it. But those are special fighters. I think Crawford's a special fighter. Number two, if he doesn't throw the jab, he does one of two things with that high guard, and he walks to you. He literally fucking walks. He does not have a boxing stance when he's walking and trying to pressure you. That is Canelo. He throws a jab, or he's going to throw an overhand right, trying to hit you in the head, or a looping left hand to the body. Now, here's the thing. Both of those shots in the William Skull fight missed. And when they missed, he was wide fucking open.
In Canelo's defense, and Bivol can attest to this, he has videos that are out there. When they miss, they still hit you in the arm. And those shit still hurt. A lot. So, Canelo's not throwing that looping right to knock you out every time. He's thinking either this is going to knock you out, or these punches you still have to take on your arm, and they're going to accumulate. That damage over the course of the fight is going to add up. So he's seeing it as a win-win. But what Victor is saying here is it's a win-win-lose. Because while, yes, you could potentially knock, your foe out, or yes, you can accumulate damage that might add up in your favor against your opponent, but you also leave yourself open. And who is, in today's age, one of the best fighters at timing an opponent and counterpunching? I'll introduce you to him later.
And to be honest, this has not been a thing since the William Skull fight. Look back on Canelo's fights. Every fight, he does the same damn thing. Even in his best at 168, those are the two punches. Jab, shot to the body, or overhand right. Look at it from the Callum Smith fight. He did the same damn thing. The difference is that Callum Smith was there to be hit, right? Same thing with BJS. Except, I would even argue his footwork was better back then. Now, he's kind of gotten older.
Well, not only was, I don't even think his footwork was that much better then. I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I would say that he was just more of a defensively responsible fighter back then. He's always had good head movement. He's always had decent feints. You know what I mean? I just go so far as to say he was just more defensively responsible back then. But to add to Victor's point, he's become just much more of a pressure fighter. I think Canelo was, which skills and athleticism he had back then allowed for him to be more of a boxer puncher. People always thought of him as, Mexican style, pressure you, try to knock you out. But he was never that fighter. That's a casual boxing fan way of thinking. Canelo had skills because his athleticism and his youth allowed for it at that point. Canelo was only 35, don't get me wrong, but he has so much mileage as a 35-year-old that he's, dare I say, may have aged a little worse than Bud. Bud being 38, day of the fight. I just think that he's going to have to return to the Canelo of old a tad bit more. And, he looks like he's putting in the work. You see videos of him in training camp, it almost looks like he's cutting down. Being a little bit more slim so he can be a little faster. When everyone's thinking he's going to use that weight and his physical attributes to, dictate the fight and dominate. But I think he has a trick up his sleeve. And we'll see. We'll see if that works in his favor.
Kind of got a shittier at his footwork. I hate saying it that way, but it's the fucking truth. So here's the thing. If you're an unskilled fighter, right? We're talking like Berlanga. He has no fucking way to counter on those wild mistakes or those wild openings, right? Because he's not a good fighter. He was cherry-picked. Let's keep it a buck. Same thing with Jaime Munguia. Like, sure, Jaime had a shot, but I guarantee he wasn't on the peds back then, right? Like, let's keep it a buck. Now, Bivol did take advantage of that. Every time Canelo threw an looping overhand right, made a miss, and he took advantage, and he had a 4 or 5 punch combination. Same thing with Mayweather. Made a miss, 4 or 5 punch combination. Same thing with Triple G. Missed, combination. That is the key to beat Canelo right there. You make him miss and you make him pay. And here's the key, I will say, with Mayweather and Dimitri, especially, more so than Triple G. They are a lot faster than Canelo. And that hand speed really helped them make that fight. Even if
I wouldn't say Triple G was faster than Canelo, even in prime versus prime. I wouldn't agree with that. But I would agree that that is the way to beat Canelo. You make a miss, and while he's missing and he's trying to reset, you get some punches in there, right? And then the thing about Canelo is Canelo gets frustrated. You know, you've seen it early in the Caleb Plant fight. You've seen it in the Bivol fight. You've seen it in the first Triple G fight. He gets frustrated and flustered. And it seems at that point, all strategy sort of goes out the window. He wants to gain the crowd's, affirmation and attention back. So the way to do that is what? Land a big shot. Risky.
Amir Khan, before he got knocked the fuck out, was taking advantage of that.
Yes.
Make him miss and make him pay. That's the thing. Okay. That is Canelo's whole game plan coming into this. And I guarantee he is the bigger guy. He is not coming in to move back and counterpunch. That is not Canelo's game plan. Canelo's game plan is to come in there and to knock this man out. Terence Crawford, that being. Now, on the flip side, I want to talk about Terence Crawford. Crawford has the faster hands. He has the faster footwork. He has a better footwork. And that's not everything, but that is key. Like, people like to go on Crawford and shit on him with the Madrimov fight. The thing with the Madrimov fight is that Madrimov does not fight like fucking Canelo, and it triggers me anybody says that. Madrimov is an Eastern...
Such a great point. Such a great point. I hate when people say Crawford struggled with Madrimov and Madrimov's 154 division. So what is he going to look like moving up to 168 to fight the undisputed champ, Saul Canelo Álvarez? Madrimov is such an awkward fighter. The feints and the slips, people don't give him enough credit. And the way they'll use to justify not giving him credit is the Virgil Ortiz fight, where, Virgil pretty much overpowered him, but he couldn't fight that Bud fight against Virgil because of Virgil's power and other reasons. The way Madrimov fought Bud, I told you, Bud is a creature of timing. And once he times you and he figures you out, the fight is over. He could not figure Madrimov out. The feints, the slips, couldn't time him. He struggled to time him. That being said, later in the fight, he still started banging the dude up. He started popping the dude. He's figured him out. Late in the fight, I'll give you, but he figured him out nonetheless. So what this guy is saying, and what I'm saying as well, is Canelo, and he's flat-footed. You don't think, let me say this. People are worried about Bud's power carrying up to 168. I'm not worried about his power carrying it up to 168. I'm worried about his speed carrying up to 168. Because if his speed and that timing instinct carries up to 168, the fight is over.
European style. Eastern Europeans have way better footwork than Canelo. Triple G had better footwork. Dimitri Bivol has better footwork. Lomachenko has better footwork. If you're from fucking Eastern European, You know how to fucking box and move around and everything. It's amazing. Even Madrimov, he has great footwork. He could cut off the ring, something that Canelo's really been liking. Look at the William Skull fight. Look at the Berlanga fight. He cannot cut the ring off as used to.
Nope.
And then Madrimov throws a lot of feints. Canelo, God bless him, has feints, but his feints have been lackluster since he's pretty predictable.
Agreed.
He's only going to throw 3 punches, or 3 of those punches. He is not the same Canelo who fought Danny Jacobs, who had that amazing fucking power and was able to do these combinations. Here's the thing, Canelo gasses nowadays. So that's 3 things. Like,
People don't talk about that. I've never, listen, even in his prime, all the way to now, I've never seen a Canelo Álvarez fights, other than the ones where he gets the guy out of there in the first 3-4 rounds. I've never seen a fight where he still has the energy and stamina past, let's say, round 6, 7, maybe 7. But after round 7, Canelo gasses out. You see it. You see it. It's evident. Another reason why I think Canelo has to get Bud out of there in the first 3 to 4 rounds. Unless, maybe there's a fifth, sixth round knockout. But you don't want to be fighting Bud gassed out, because Bud has a gas tank. Bud's a machine. That energy, you saw him. He went 12 rounds with Madrimov, and they were slipping and feigning the entire fight. And Bud was there. He turned up later in the fight. It's like something energizes Bud. Like, once he solves the equation, he's like, yeah, I solved it in round 7, but damn, that just got me hyped. Let's go. You know what I mean? So this, again, assuming that Bud's stamina transfers up to 168. You notice as we talk, it's the biggest if in the fight. Will Bud's stamina move up with him? Will Bud's speed and power move up with him? Tons of ifs, but that's what makes the fight intriguing. None of this Tank versus Jake Paul bull. We're not going to get into that. I don't want to give that any promotion.
Canelo's predictable. He gasses. And he's honestly out of his prime. Now, here's what Crawford's going to take advantage. Hand speed, as I alluded to. Crawford needs to be fucking first.
Will it move up?
He needs to be first, and he needs to be fast. Because if you want to get Canelo off his game plan, you have to frustrate him. How do you frustrate Canelo? Do what Dimitri Bivol did. Do what Floyd Mayweather did. Be fast, be first, and counter.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Crawford has an amazing jab. Use it. He's longer reach. Use the jab. Jab's going to be key to this thing.
Jab's going to be critical, pivotal. The jab will win or lose the fight.
Here's the thing. Crawford's a slow starter. Crawford's always been a slow starter. So the big thing...
Can afford to start slow in this fight. Sorry for stopping it over and over again.
here is that Crawford needs to survive the first 3 rounds so he can warm up and then move forward. Here's the thing. That's where this gets fishy, because if he doesn't get past round 3 or ground power, then Canelo wins this by knockout because the power is going to be too great. But Crawford's footwork is going to keep Canelo on kind of never getting started, in my opinion. Crawford can move circles around that ring. He can throw punches in his boxing stance.
And that's the thing. Crawford doesn't have to knock him out. He doesn't have to have knockout power. What he does need is enough power to make Canelo what? Respect him. He needs enough power to make Canelo respect him. If he can hit Canelo with a shot in the first couple of rounds that says, damn, Canelo thinks like, damn, okay, I just gotta make sure because the hardest punches, every boxer will tell you, are the punches that you don't see coming. And those are Bud's specialty. So he needs to hit him with something where he goes, damn, that has something behind it. I want to make sure that I'm aware of those and where they're coming from, right?
He can get out of the way of punches, and he's not afraid to trade. I don't think Crawford's game plan is to be Charlo and walk around the ring. I really don't. I think Crawford's game plan is to bring it to Canelo, make sure Canelo feels his fucking shots, because Bud has underrated power. Let's put it that way. People don't like to acknowledge it, but Bud's a strong motherfucker. The dude's deadlifting 400 plus pounds. What boxer deadlifts 400 pounds? What boxer actually has a strength and conditioning coach?
So, this guy has some good points. I'm going to go into one more video that was a really good unbiased breakdown, and that came from Timothy Desert Storm Bradley. I wasn't the biggest fan of Tim as a fighter, especially because I was a huge Manny Pacquiao fan. And so when that, I wouldn't even call it egregious robbery happened. I think it was just, you could see it going either way because Manny started slow, but whenever that robbery happened, I was a diehard Pacquiao fan. So of course I saw it as this atrocious robbery, and I kind of blamed Bradley for that. But you know what? Bradley was always a physical specimen. He had like a Greek god physique. And, you know, he always respected the sport. He never cheated the sport. He always came in shape, came in ready for his fights. And he always put up a hell of a fight. So shout out to Bradley. And so just sort of, growing and seeing, his career as a commentator, color commentator. He offers really good opinions. You can see the knowledge and how he's a fan of the sport, like a historian of the sport, right? So let's go ahead and shout out to Tim for the video, and let's get into it.
Yo, got some new evidence. Yo, check this out. Tim Desert Storm Bradley. You already know the rest. Look, been studying Canelo, been studying Crawford, man. Damn, this is gonna be a tough fight, man. It really is. Let me just get to it, man. I mean, everybody wants a picture of how the first round is gonna go and how the course of the fight's gonna go, man. I see the first round being a fill-out round by both fighters.
Of course.
I think Canelo will try to control the center of the ring. I think he might even box a little bit on his toes.
I can see that.
Due to the fact because he wants to feel the punching power, and vice versa. Crawford wants to feel his punching power as well. In the beginning, it's all the position balance. Like both guys are trying to get balance and trying to find their rhythm. Understanding their distance to where they can punch and at the same time avoid getting hit. It takes Crawford a little bit more time than I would say Canelo to get right to it. Canelo, although he is a prolific counterpuncher, fantastic counterpuncher, he tends to find his spots a lot quicker. And the indication of that is when, if you look at any of the boxers that Canelo has faced, Trout, even Danny Jacobs, even when he fought against Charlo, you just check out the first round. He usually takes off, just feels the power, cruises, see what these guys know, couple of feints, level changes, gathering information, right? Crawford does the same and similar things. So I think the first round's going to be a real, calm and cautious round by both fighters. But in the second round...
See how analytical this dude is? You could tell... And don't get me wrong, the last guy we watched, you could tell he watches boxing. You could tell he's a boxing fan. You could tell he's knowledgeable of the sport. But how technical Bradley breaks it down, I feel like I should be paying for this content. Like, you need to put a paywall up, Tim. This is good information.
Canelo's going to start applying that pressure, man.
Of course. Matter of time.
Pre-engagement with Crawford is a little bit more difficult than a Charlo, okay? Let me explain this. So, pre-engagement is the movements before you get into that sweet spot, which is mid-range, to be able to let your hands go, right? Both guys are trying to counter each other's movement. Both guys are looking at each other's, hands, trying to anticipate what they believe is going to come next. During those periods right there, Crawford is one of the best at it, okay? Because he's smart, he's cerebral. Like a fight.
And let me tell you, I didn't even know that was a term before this video, pre-engagement, but it makes sense. And him saying that Bud is the best in the world at that, I could see it because Bud is great at that distance. And that's almost the distance in which he figures you out at. If you've watched a Bud fight. Along with the jab, I think that pre-engagement distance, I think those two things, the jab and that pre-engagement distance, are going to be what makes or breaks Bud. He's got to have a jab that's pumping. We all know that. That's Canelo's weakness. But that pre-engagement distance, if he's responsible enough with it, I think he has a path to victory.
Fighter to a fighter, we can feel when another fighter is like, oh, he's on my rhythm. You can feel it, right? And Canelo, I feel like Canelo will, in those instances, will be able to understand and get to Crawford a lot quicker because he knows he has the weight advantage. He understands that he's stronger.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to feel Crawford's power. He's going to say, okay, it's nothing I ain't never felt before.
Yep.
And he's going to be willing to walk through some things or smother a lot of Crawford's offense
Yes.
to be able to get to him to break him down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when people see this fight, when they think of Canelo's path to victory, that's what they see. That's what they see. Because if he's going to be able to walk through Bud's punches, and that's why I say Bud has to have something that's going to make Canelo respect him. Because if he's going to just walk through, and Bradley, to his defense, he said some things, right? I don't think Canelo's just going to be this numbskull that's just going to just walk through anything and not think he can get clipped. No, I don't think that. He's never done that. But if you can sit there and say, I'm going to walk through a couple here and there just to get my punch off for sure and inflict damage and pain, now you're starting to say, okay, not only does Bud need to have something that's going to make Canelo respect him, but Bud's also going to be able to take something as well. You know, Bud's also going to be able to have to take that for 12 rounds. Because to be honest with you, I don't see Bud knocking him out. And see, the way Bud works is, man, he's won me so much money. I'm skeptical to even say that because when you say Bud can't do something, he does it. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Anytime I've not saw an outlet for Bud, he's proved me wrong. So, but man, I don't know.
Understand this, that Canelo is a guy that has a ton of experience. He's been in there with all different types of styles. Punchers, boxers, southpaws, you name it. You know, he's been years in the game, man, since he was 14 years old, sparring against pros in Mexico. You know, so he knows that when you're in there with a smaller fighter, you know, you're putting, you know, cerebral pressure on him, smart pressure on him, man. You know, you got to throw precise shots, which is what he does.
Yep.
And you got to debilitate him. He's going to be looking to attack Crawford's body. That's what he's going to do. He's going to try to attack his body.
And man, does he throw vicious body shots. Body rocker. Canelo's probably the best in the game when it comes to body shots, even at this age. Yes, sir-y. Yes, sir-y.
Viciously. You know, Canelo's going to be looking to land anywhere. It doesn't matter because he knows that his power hurts. He knows. And the more shots that Crawford takes on the arms, takes on the body, takes on the forearms, it's going to eventually start to slow him down.
Would this make you buy a Ridge wallet? 2 people could win a Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato, a Hennessy Velociraptor.
That's going to be Canelo's plan. If you go back, you watch him against any of these black fighters that he's faced, boxers particularly, you will see he will systematically start to break these guys down. Okay? Now, go back, watch Crawford when he faced Spence. Look how quickly Spence was able to close the gap against Crawford. Okay? And it was behind a double jab, a simple jab, right? That's how he was able to close the gap on Crawford. And
yes and no. Was he able to close the gap faster? Yes. But in Bud's defense, Bud in that fight said, I want you to know I'm here. I'm here in the center of the ring with you. I'm not going anywhere. Because if you remember that Spence fight, Bud was trying to prove to him early on, hey, I'm just as strong as you. I'm just as strong as you, and I got power too. If you remember, I think it was rounds 2 or 3 that Bud pushed Spence off of him, and everyone knew at that moment, oh, he can push. He's throwing him off of him like that. Oh, who's the stronger guy? Everyone thought that. As soon as that happened, everyone knew Spence is in trouble. So while, yes, Spence was able to cut the distance quick, Bud was also not going anywhere, right?
He was able to hit Crawford to the body. Rather, Crawford blocked. And look, Crawford blocked a lot of that stuff. However, he was able to close that distance. Okay? The pre-engagement that Crawford had wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, you know, to keep Spence off of him or Spence from closing that gap. Spence was able to get to Crawford. Okay? Canelo's going to be able to get to Crawford. Trust me. Now, listen. Crawford, tactically sound, smart fighter. Crawford understands that, hey, when Canelo gets close, gotta tie him up.
And I don't know if you guys know, but Bud was a wrestler first. Deadlifts 400 pounds. You heard the last guy. So in the clinches, Bud's going to be effective. Size or no size, he's going to be effective in the clinches.
Gotta step in, smother, and tie him up. Canelo typically throws 1 or 2 shots at a time. Left hook, right hand.
Yep.
Vicious. He doesn't care where he lands, as long as he lands on his opposition. Okay? So Crawford's gonna have to tie up. But there's one thing you need to understand here. Okay? Let's talk about the referee. And this is where I'm telling you. This is where.
Oh man, and I didn't even want to cover this part. I didn't want to get into it being Vegas. I didn't want to get into the referees. I didn't want to get into the judges, but damn it, it's boxing. It's an unfortunate stain that you have to consider. In a perfect world, you'd just be able to consider the fighters, the skills, the talents, the instincts, the physical attributes, the intangibles. It's not a perfect world. And I'll just say that. And I'm sure Tim's going to get into it.
I used to always need to know who my referee are, my judges, because I need to know how the hell they ref. You know, you already know Thomas. Thomas is cool. That's my guy, man. Like the guy a lot. You know, Soul Arbiter to the D-I-D-I-E. Yeah. You know, he's not a guy that's fond of holding. Understand that. He's not. He's not a guy that is fond of tie-ups. He will warn Crawford early, okay? He's a guy that wants to see a fight, a ref that wants to see a fight, just like everybody else, you know. And if you're holding or, let's say, tying up, he's one of those guys that's going to say, hey, that's enough, all right? Go study his recent fights. So Crawford going to have to be careful early. He's going to have to be careful early, you know, if he's going to tie up Canelo Álvarez, you know, and if he ties him up too often, because Canelo's going to close the distance on him. Now, remember, Crawford has a wrestling background, okay? He's going to be able to understand leverage on the inside. So, although Canelo will bag him up to the ropes at times, and he steps in, and he ties him up, Crawford's going to be able to get off the ropes. He's going to be able to understand which way to go, you know, to get himself back into the center of the ring. All right?
Right.
But early.
Crawford's got great feet. If it's one thing you could depend on that you know that's going to happen in the fight, almost as sure as you know Canelo's power is going to be there and his strength is going to be there and it's going to play a role. You know that for a fact. Bud's feet. Bud's feet. You can count on him. You can count on him.
Early on, again, it's going to be Canelo's fight early on because Canelo, again, being the bigger guy, he's going to be able to close that distance on Crawford. He's going to be able to corner him in spots. And every time he shoots a shot, it's going to be deadly. Okay? Whether it lands flush or not, it's going to be hard. And it's going to be appealing to the damn judges.
Yep.
Okay? So this is where the second half of the fight comes in for Crawford, okay? Because
and this is the thing, this is my worry. You hate to see robberies. And if by any miracle Bud makes it all 12 and was able to control more than half the fight, you almost know already. I mean, you almost already know. And it's in Vegas. WBC? Who's their poster child? Come on. It's going Canelo. And it's just what it is. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I'm not going to set false expectations for myself. I'm not going to. You guys can do that. You boxing channels can walk willy-nilly through this fight saying this is going to be a fair fight and that I'm just talking conspiracy talk. Because you love the sport of boxing and you want to continue to see it grow. I don't care. Do I love boxing? Yes. Do I love watching it? Yes. Is it one of my favorite sports? Yes. But I'll never support that, and I'll never pretend that it doesn't happen because it pisses me off, and it's not fair to these fighters every time it happens. It's not. And you guys are doing a discredit to the sport every time you sit there and you act like anyone who brings it up is a conspiracy theorist. So, you know what I mean? And I mean, like I said, it goes 12 rounds, but controls more than half the fight. It's going to go Canelo. I mean, you saw it with Bivol. Bivol had to completely destroy Canelo. That was a blowout. It was a blowout. I had Canelo winning maybe 2 rounds. It was a massacre. And it was close on the cards. You have to knock this guy out or completely destroy him to get a nod. It's crazy, man. And it's sad because it's one of the things that have led me to not be as big of a Canelo fan that I probably would have been. Just seeing the judge bias to him and the commissions, their bias to him. The fact that he never gets stripped of his titles. He doesn't ever have to defend them. Certain ones. IBF, WBC. You know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with his fighting ability. But, I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent, you know, my history and my feelings towards it. But, yeah, man. Let's see what Tim thinks.
First half, I think Crawford might lose the first couple of rounds. I really do. Before Crawford downloads the information, okay? You go back, you watch any Crawford fight. He's a slow starter. He just is. You can watch Sean Porter fight. He's a slow.
One more thing. It's just, this fight is so interesting because I have anxiety, right? And it's due to a lot of the times overthinking or trying to see too far ahead in the future. It's okay to look in the future, right? But once you start living in the future, you know, all your decisions, all your mindset is just based in the future. You're no longer living in the now. Yeah, that'll give you anxiety. And so the reason I preface it that way is to say that I'm an overthinker. I think in the future. When I'm thinking of this fight, there's so many ways I can see it playing out. I can see Canelo knocking Bud out or knocking him down a couple of times in the first 3 rounds and the fight is over. I can see a fight where Bud boxes perfectly, boxes his ass off, 12 rounds, wins the decision. I can see a fight where, like Tim is saying, Canelo starts strong, and then you see Bud downloading the information, and let's say Canelo wins the first 4 rounds, 3-4 rounds, and then Bud downloads, and he just starts dominating Canelo. In between those wide swings, pop, 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 pop. You know, in between the wide swings, pop, pop, move in and out, Eastern European style. Or I can see, you know, on the opposite of that, alternatively, Bud having some early success due to speed and just other things in the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds even, 5 rounds, 6 rounds. He's having success. Looks like Bud's going to win. And that pressure catches up to him, and Canelo sits him on his ass. I can see it. Those are 4 different realities that we're going to walk into. Which one of those realities are going to be true? That's what you're deciding here. You know what? We're done with the Bradley video. That's what you're trying to figure out. So me right now, on record, if you put a gun to my head and you ask me, which one of those realities do I see most likely happening? It's hard because you have a brain and you have a heart. And I have two different realities. In my brain, the most logical version of myself says somehow, some way, Canelo's pressure will overcome Bud. It will just be just too much, right, to bite off for Bud. But the situation's a win-win for him, regardless. He's moving up all these weights. He's going for his third time undisputed. Dude's chasing greatness. Even the biggest Canelo fans, I got to tell you, this is a lose-lose for Canelo. The Canelo fans are fighting hard for it to be seen where if Canelo wins this, it boosts his legacy somehow, or he's even more of an all-time great. No, I don't think that. He's fighting a guy, and this is not to take credit away from Canelo if he wins. I just think it's a win. I don't think it takes away from him because he still had to bust his ass in training camp. He still had to, be present. He still had to win the fight, right, against an all-time great. But do I think it boosts his legacy? No. Nah. I just don't see it. That being said, that's what the brain thinks, the most logical version of myself. Now my heart, in the heart of hearts, Bud, 12-round decision. Can't tell you if it's split, couldn't tell you if it's unanimous. Actually, I could damn sure tell you it's not unanimous. I could damn sure tell you it's not unanimous, but 12-round decision. So now sort of what you do, and this is what's been, tugging at me, is that you sort of take the brain. This is what I try to do in most of the big decisions in my life. You take the brain, you take the heart, and you meet somewhere in the middle, which leaves us with two different realities. Will Canelo have early success and then Bud figures him out and dominates the rest of his fight? Or will Bud have early success and Canelo continue to walk through things and catch him and clip him because Bud's being Bud. Can't even call it defensively irresponsible because ultimately Bud, if Bud got caught with something, I would not blame Bud 1 second, because how the hell else are you supposed to beat Canelo without giving him something? I would consider that going out on your damn shield at that point. How else are you supposed to? You can't run all day, or else the judges are going to discredit you and say you're the next Skull, right? You're Skull. So if Crawford gets caught, you know what I'm thinking about it right now? We'll stand on that, Bud Nation. We'll stand on that because, damn it, I mean, how else are you supposed to beat him? So is Canelo going to have early success, Bud figure him out and the timing out and then dominate him? Or is Bud going to have early success and then Canelo catches up to him, that pressure catches up to him, or he clips him and hits him with something he can't get back up from? And I'm going to go with, all things considered, my final prediction, and I'm going to die on this hill. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't even know that Canelo has early success or Bud has early success. I couldn't tell you. But all I know is, with Canelo being flat-footed, I don't think these fighters have come so far. I don't think much changes about their styles and who they are as fighters. These guys have fought a certain way for a long time. They're not just going to change what they know and what they're comfortable with now, besides the weight for Crawford. That being said, Bud's always going to be a banger. Bud's always going to want to bang. You guys expecting Bud to Charlo out? Lions only. To Charlo out, it's not going to happen. He's never fought that way. He's not changing. The dude is one of the most competitive athletes in any sport. He's not going out like that. And Canelo, the pressure, walking through things to land your own, the flat-footedness, the looping right, the jab, 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 looping right, body shot. It's not changing. In my heart and my brain, when I add them together, I just think, something just tells me Bud figures it out. I don't know. The timing. I think for the foundation of my opinion, my prediction, when it all balls down and you strip everything away from the prediction, the only things left is I think Canelo will be easy to time for Bud. Don't get me wrong, Bud still has to be able to take the abuse for 12 rounds. But I think Canelo will be easy to time for Bud. See, Bivol didn't leave it to timing. This wasn't a situation where Bivol was just timing Canelo and that's the way he beat him. That's not how he won. Bivol out-pressured the pressure fighter. Bivol won as a boxer-puncher, but more so a pressure fighter. He was in his face all night. Canelo didn't have any answers for that. That's why that win was so shocking. But he was the bigger fighter. The way that Floyd beat Canelo was different. Floyd was timing Canelo, picking him apart because he couldn't get hit. That defense was frustrating Canelo. Now, in defense to Canelo, he's a lot more experienced, a lot more developed, and a lot more intelligent of a fighter than when he fought Floyd. It is what it is. But what he's added mentally and experience-wise, has it decreased physically, right? You could say the same for Bud. But I just see Bud timing Canelo. I just see it. I mean, those wide punches, the flat-footedness and how off balance he is at times, you can't make those mistakes against Crawford. At least it's what I've seen. Now, is this going to be the first fight where I learn if you're the bigger great guy beats the smaller great guy just because he can make those mistakes? Am I going to learn that lesson right now? Possibly. But final prediction, Terence Bud Crawford, 12-round decision. I'll see you guys on the next video. Ascada.